I'm fine, thanks, and yourself. It's great to catch up with you, and especially on today's topic, the muscle of resistance. I'm at resilience. So sorry. Why is it called a muscle, by the way?
Well, it's likened to a muscle, right?
Mhm.
It's not something you put your finger on, like your heart or your lungs. And it's
Mhm.
something that, in order to get better at, you need to use it. You need to stretch it. You need to expose it more. So that's why I like to call it a muscle.
Okay. How would you personally define resilience, along with what does it mean to you?
So resilience is the ability to bounce back. It's the ability to be able to dig deep in situations where you find you cannot push ahead. And it's like an elastic band, you stretch it and you stretch it and you stretch it. And this is in all areas of our life. If we look at mental resilience, you look at physically, whether it's through sport, you want to run a 5K and then I want to push myself to run a 10K. It can be emotionally, where you have to exercise things like I'm not a confrontational person, but I'm
Mhm.
upset about something, therefore I need to confront the person about it. So that's building emotional resilience. And then you can also get spiritual resilience, which is, sometimes in my journey, I found the moments where I questioned God, or I thought maybe God had forgotten me, and my faith was strengthened. So that's a spiritual element that I like to talk about of resilience.
Okay. All right. What are some of the main sources of stress in your life right now?
Are you talking me personally or people in general?
Both.
Both. I think, generally speaking, we're living in tough times, right? So the number one cause of stress for most people would be financial. If you
Hmm.
look at people in general, young, old, across the demographics, it's financial, right? Secondly, linked to that is relationships,
Hmm.
because we are relational beings. We have our parents, we have our kids, we have our spouses, our girlfriends, our friends. There's always some dynamics involved. So, and then third would obviously be work. So those are the top
Hmm.
three. And for me personally, I mean, stress comes in all shapes and sizes. I mean, predominantly it's work, it's solving problems, it's dealing with difficult people. So, that's some of the areas that I would have a little bit of stress in.
What are some habits or practices that help you build resilience?
That's a really nice question. There's many, but personally for me, the number one thing that helps me to dig deep in my moments of weakness is the community of people that I'm surrounded with.
Hmm.
Because I could never get through any of the tough times if it wasn't for the people around me. So that's very critical, that when you are faced with the challenges and you feel you can't find a solution or you can't push ahead, who are those people that you call and talk to say, come on, look at the bigger picture. Here's a solution. Have you thought of this? Give it a day or two, it will pass. So for me, people are critical in my life. And there's lots of other coping mechanisms, like your faith. Do you draw closer to your faith or away from it in those tough times? And there are other elements which are kind of coping mechanisms, like exercise as an outlet to get rid of that feeling of being stuck. And then it releases endorphins, your mind is solutions, and you're able to troubleshoot. So those are some of the strategies that I use in my personal life to help me get through.
Can you share a personal story where you overcame a challenge that helped build your resilience?
Yeah, I think definitely the two things that stand out for me. One is, when I did the trip to Kilimanjaro, and it was really very
Okay.
strenuous. It was the first big expedition that I'd done, 8 days in the mountain. And the last day is very, very taxing, because you have been climbing up an incline for 7 days. You get to the uh, campsite, late at night.
Hmm.
It's freezing cold. You're almost 5,500 meters high up. And then I was suffering with a bit of a tummy bug and I wasn't feeling
Oh.
myself and then physically exhausted. And then I just literally collapsed in the tent. And 4 hours later, the guide woke me up and he said, it's time to get ready and go. And then I remembered why I was doing it to help me push through. What is my why behind it? I wanted to show my
Mm.
kids that you can take on something difficult and you can achieve it. So that motivated me. And then I just popped whatever pills I need to for however I was feeling. I had a headache, I took Panado, a stomach ache, I took whatever. And then, thirdly, my friends had written letters to me and voice notes and messages. And I went through all of that and I said to myself, you didn't come this far to quit. And I had
Mm.
another 16 hours of climbing up to the top and back down again. So it was really, really a moment where I literally had to dig deep mentally, physically, and emotionally. And it was tiring. And I think another trip for me, which was when I went to Russia this year and being exposed to very, very harsh conditions, which was 70 kilometers winds, minus 23 degrees
Wow.
temperature, and being battered by the wind and being knocked over and bruised and almost falling down the mountain. But being 150 vertical meters from the summit and having to turn around, it was disappointing. But lo and behold, the minute I came down from that mountain back to the lodge, immediately what kicked in for me was I have to go back there again. I didn't say I quit, I give up, this is
Mm.
not for me. Why did God allow this to happen? So there is something called reframing your perspective of your problem. I shifted the viewpoint that it was not a failure, but it was a learning experience. It was a way for me to learn. I learned so much. I learned how to trek in the snow, being in the cold, different environments, different experience altogether. So, I'm back on the horse again next year. I've booked already. I will be in Russia in July next year, attempting it again, and that's resilience. It's being able to
Mm.
say that I came. It's like the comrades. You're right there at
Hmm.
that 12-hour mark and 12:01 hits and you haven't crossed the line, you just crossed at 12:01, you don't qualify, you haven't qualified. It's
Mm.
a zero qualifier, even if you're there at 12:01. What do? A lot of people go back. That's resilience. It's going back after your dreams, your goals, your visions, despite the setback and say, I'm going to do this again. I'm never going to quit, no matter what. I have to tick that off my bucket list. So those are two examples that I could use.
Okay. Who or what in your life supports you when you're feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, like I said, I have two really good friends, and they really, really, I can bounce things off them anytime that I feel overwhelmed. I also find that there's a technique called brain dump. So let's say you wake up in the morning and you're overwhelmed with work, and there's a million things that you have to do. Your kid is having a special day tomorrow. You need to get them this fancy outfit. Your boss, you have a deadline at work. The house, something is falling apart in the house, and
Mm.
you take a piece of paper and you immediately dump everything on that paper. Because when you see it on the piece of paper, you're able to prioritize and say, right, for now, I need to get focused on work. When I finished work, I go to the Chinese shop, I buy that uniform for my kids, so she's sorted tomorrow. The plumber I can call in my lunch break to come and fix whatever. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, the brain dump helps you to prioritize what's important in the now and what can wait till later. And that technique helps me a lot. Like at my desk now, I have three pieces of paper and I know what's happening and I know what to do for tomorrow. So that's a really good technique that I use.
Okay. So my final question to you would be, how do you incorporate stress management techniques into your daily routine?
So it's very simple. The number one stress reliever for me is a good workout. I find all that anger, frustration, irritability, all those negative emotions, which I bottle instead of channeling it at people. I try and be emotionally aware so that I don't channel that negativity onto people, whether it's my kids or my husband or my
Hmm.
colleagues. I channel it into a very, very hard workout, either with weights or running or something really hard. And it works like a bomb for me. You know, some people read, some people meditate,
Hmm.
some people do boxing. Also listening to music. I just sit in the car and put like my favorite happy music, because music also allows your body to be hormones when you listen to good music. So I have a folder on Spotify called Happy Music, Happy Numbers, because literally when I put it on and sing, immediately feel happy. So those are some of the practices that I use. Everyone is. Some people cry and feel better. Some people need to talk to other people a lot and feel better. But you know, if there's no one around or your friends are busy, then you've got to find mechanisms that you can use on your own if people are not around. So you're not dependent on them totally for that outlet.
Thanks so much for your time and for sharing your insights on this issue today, the muscle of resilience. And hopefully, we can catch up again on a new topic.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something about your own capacity for being resilient. That's what it's all about, your own personal capacity. You can only test that when you put yourself in those difficult situations. You cannot test it in a comfort zone.
Yeah, that's true. Take care.